Success Insight shares the stories of the people with passion and drive who make things happen in the world. Here's your host, Howard Fox.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Success Insight podcast. Today is Mindset Monday, and when it's Mindset Monday, we get to have as our guest your leadership mindset and golf performance coach, Andree Martin. Today's episode of Mindset Monday is spring training. Now, Andree is an LPGA Class A Life member, a nationally recognized top 50 golf teacher and expert, and a member of the Maine Golf Hall of Fame, recognizing golf's value as a business tool in today's competitive marketplace. Andree works with individuals, groups, corporate and organizational clients to create educational and team-building programs that enhance the professional success of aspiring executives. Andree, welcome back to the Success Insight podcast and Mindset Monday.
Thank you, Howard. It's always great to be back.
Fantastic. So, we are in the age of the COVID-19 crisis. It is the end of April. Well, actually, it's the middle of April as we record this podcast. And near and dear to my heart is spring training, the baseball season, or maybe spring training will have ended and the season should have started. But spring training, what's up with spring training?
Well, spring training, I love using that in the beginning of the year, going into spring, just getting everybody thinking about, hey, it's time to do a review of the fundamentals. When you think about it, the first of the year is hopefully we've already set our goals for the year. We've set out our checks and balances and our strategy plan of how we're going to succeed. While COVID's kind of thrown a monkey wrench in everything, the tour players, your top professionals, are continuing their spring training while we work through this whole COVID blow-up hole, right?
Yeah.
It got me thinking, your average golfer, I know, is going bonkers out there because they can't play. We can't access the golf courses. We can't access the parks. We can't access beaches. It's rather nuts. But I guarantee you, every professional in any sport is going through their workout plan diligently every single day. They're working on their skills and drills. They're not missing a beat. And if you think about it, your successful business person is focusing forward, and they're utilizing everything that they do in spring training, in January planning, in the first quarter of the year, and taking an assessment on, okay, how do we do? Where are we now? How do we need to pivot to maintain and create that great success we want to have for the year? And so I thought spring training would be a very, very appropriate subject for today.
With spring training, so I'm curious, with the baseball, pitchers and catchers show up a week ahead of time, then the rest of the players show up. And I imagine the drills vary in intensity from one day to the next. But using golf as our Mindset Monday metaphor, primarily, what are the drills that a pro is doing as a spring training kind of exercise to keep them sharp today?
Well, by the time you get around to spring training, they already know their numbers. They know how well they did last year. They know how they stack up against everybody else. All the survey results are in. And it's like decimal points, just like even in Olympics. It's fractions of a second that distinguishes the gold from the silver. And so how are you going to make sure you have that goal? And I guarantee you it's the one that is continuing to stay focused and sharpening the axe on their craft, no matter which craft it is. And then they're thinking, okay, so if I did this last year and I want to amp it up a notch or two or three or more, what do we need to be doing right now? How are we going to pivot and really stay ahead of the curve so that when it's game time and time to get back into the season, we're winning. We're at the top.
As pros are engaged in the spring training, and again, using golf as the metaphor, every day they get up, I would imagine even again, in our present circumstances with this crisis, they're going somewhere to practice. Either they're doing cardio, weights, they have some way to go somewhere to swing the golf club, to practice some strokes. I mean, you talked about in a previous podcast, 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock. And then if they're going for a longer stroke, maybe it's 3 o'clock, I don't know, 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, who knows? Every day they get up, they know what they're going to be practicing on. They have a routine. They kind of do the loosen up, they do the cardio, they do the weights, they go out there, do something with the clubs and the balls and stance, things like that. Is that what's happening?
Well, and if I go back, there's a great quote that Willie Mays always used. It's what you're thinking and what shape your mind is in is what makes the biggest difference of all. And so each day we've got an opportunity. Each day is a new day. Each day is the first day of the rest of your career, right? How are you going to tackle that? How are you going to prepare? And where are you in that planning and practice? Yeah, you're going to set your benchmarks, but then you're going to work the plan. So yes, there's going to be cross training for sure. You're going to have your exercise. You're going to have your cardio, nutrition. Then you're going to work the swing. And fortunately, we have Zoom. Fortunately, we have great video opportunities that players can have the conversation with their coaches and keep sharpening the axe.
I would imagine even for businesses that have to continue to stay in business with their whatever the industry is, whether it's financial services, insurance, healthcare. In fact, even the professionals that are on the line right now in the hospitals, even while they are performing their tasks, their role as a first responder and taking care of themselves or patients, there's probably folks observing them, working with them to remind them, how do you feel? Are you getting the rest you need? Are you getting the nutrition? Are you using proper technique? Or maybe as a result of the observations and the measurement, perhaps there's another way to perform a task that perhaps is a little less riskier. That would seem to me to be logical in a healthcare setting. And even in a call setting for a bank or credit card company, you have individuals on the phone taking calls from the client. You're continuing to measure their effectiveness. And then the supervisors, the managers are continuing to work with the staff. So that spring training, it's kind of like spring training 365 days a year to keep that axe sharpened. And then game day is when you're actually performing the work.
That's when you're letting it go and you're doing it. Golf, the fortunate thing we've got in golf right now is we've got launch monitors that really track the statistics. And the athlete can actually do it in their backyard. You don't even need an indoor simulator. And you can still work on your game. So I guarantee you these professionals are doing that. Now, not every golfer out there that's an amateur has those tools per se, right? But we can certainly be working on short game, which is 68% of your score. It's like not everybody can meet in person. We're all working from our homes remotely. We're optimizing as best we can to continue to create great performance, right? And I still keep thinking back to Willie Mays and what he said. And each day we have a choice of how we're going to direct our businesses and our focus. Makes me think of the legend of two wolves. One wolf is positive and beneficial and is out there thinking about the right stuff. The other one is negative and totally destructive. And it's like, which wolf are you going to want to feed, right? And within that, then you can start breaking things down. Okay, where did I miss? Where did I go down the wrong path yesterday that I need to redirect? It might be that I had a goal of making 10 3-foot putts in a row. Now, a golf professional is going to make a lot more. They're going to make 50 to 100. And I had planned on that, but I only did 5. Well, that's not feeding the wolf the way we want, right? You got to step it up and you got to keep positive. If you're going to go for the gold, 5 is settling for silver. You got to do 10 and then some, and we're always going back and cross-checking. You and I were just talking about that earlier with what we're doing with the marketing of our businesses. Okay, what did we do this week, and where did we maybe miss where we can sharpen it again going into next week? It's all very, very key. And spring training gets the athlete's body in shape. It gives the team coaches a chance to assess and see how well they did on their own in the off season, so they know who's going to lead the roster going into this year's season. In golf, you're your own. How you play coming out of the chute is the ones that really worked at it are the ones that are going to make it.
Very good. I'm kind of reminded of a question I've been meaning to ask you, and you kind of just alluded to it indirectly. I have a personality that makes these connections, so maybe our listeners might not. How did Howard get to that? But here it goes. Spring training, this is where the athletes are coming in. They're being observed and rated by the coaches and managers. But in the off season, it's left to the individual athlete. In the sport of golf, who else is on the golfer's team, that professional's team, that's helping him or her stay sharp in that offseason? I'm curious about that. Who are these people?
Your top athletes have an entire team. Phil Mickelson's, your Tiger Woods, your top athletes, all these guys, even the ladies, all have a nutritionist. They have their performance coach. And then within the performance coach, they may have someone that's measuring their blood pressure, their heart rate, their strength and flexibility. And so they might have a training coach for weights, but then they'll have a training coach for yoga, Pilates, core strengthening. Some professionals have a golf coach that is a full swing coach, and then others will have a short game coach. Most have one coach for the entire golf swing, but they will go to that detail.
Okay. It's gotten complicated. Definitely gotten complicated, especially as our knowledge of not only physiology, health, nutrition, flexibility, and these little individual components that make up who we are. And so now we have specialists in every way.
A bigger key than that, they've got their sports psychologists.
Got to have that mindset coach.
Yeah.
Got to have that mindset coach. Andree, before we head out today and this episode of Mindset Monday, Spring Training, where are the best places for our listeners to learn more about you and your work?
Oh, sure. You go to my website. It's www.andreegolf.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn and YouTube. It's Andree Martin Golf on the YouTube channel. And I also have Facebook.
Fantastic. Well, we will most certainly put backlinks to your social sites and website on today's show notes. And thank you again for joining us on Mindset Monday.
Thank you, Howard. It's always a pleasure to be a part of this.
Fantastic. All right, folks, we've just been chatting with your leadership, mindset, and golf performance coach, Andree Martin. This is Mindset Monday, and we have been talking about spring training. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please let us know the comments to our show notes on any of our sites, whether it's successinsightpodcast.com, our Facebook and LinkedIn pages, Success Insight Podcast, our YouTube page, as well as our podcast platforms, Buzzsprout, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And as always, remember, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day, work on your spring training. But in this age of the corona crisis, do stay healthy and practice social distancing. Do be healthy, okay? We'll see you on the next episode of the Success Insight Podcast. Take care.
Success Insight is a production of Fox Coaching and First Story Strategies. Find us online, successinsightpodcast.com.